Here we go. I don't know if you watched earlier, but I said this is like a tennis match going on out there. It's just back and forth, back and forth. And the Sarnia Sting, like, how proud are we of them right now?
I'm very. It's like, like a game of Pong. Just ping, 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 right all over the board.
Yeah, and Mitch Young, great to see him in there with 2 goals right now.
He's on the hat trick watch.
Right, and, Tyson Doucette, we talked about him earlier, 4 goals from last year to now into like 23 for this season. While this team has had its struggles, Connor, we've really seen a lot of growth and silver lining in these players.
Absolutely. That's an explosion of growth, I think, and another year added onto that. It's hard to imagine he can't do another 15 goals or another maybe even 20.
Right. I mean, I feel, would you call this playoff hockey right now?
It seems like it. This building is rocking right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Flint fans, too. It's a short drive, of course they were going to be here.
Yeah, well, we talk about the fan support, but then from Flint being here to give the support, I'm sure, to their team. But quite honestly, I talked to a couple of them. They're like, "Oh, we want to see the Sting, tonight as well, right?" So that's kind of cool that they have that vibe going in the room. They've had the wave going around a few times. Are you doing the wave out there?
I am. I think it started in our section. There's some young girls down there that started.
Okay.
They're rather loud.
Oh, okay. I was upstairs there, and I did it a couple of times. The other media guys are looking at me like, "What are you doing, Burrows?" I'm like, "I'm having fun."
You're in the spirit, man. I love it.
It is. And we're seeing some players like, let's talk about Dennis Lomanak. I mean, he got his 3rd goal for the season, so not a huge standout player, but 3 goals for a young player like that for the season. It's nice to see him in there.
It is, absolutely. It's just plenty to grow on. 3 goals it's nothing to be shy of, especially with the minutes he gets. He doesn't play on the first or the second line. It's only getting very limited minutes. So with what he's given, that's super impressive. And I'm only expect to see more from all of these guys really next year.
Yeah, well, it's bittersweet, right? When you've got the Kai Schwintz that are off, and McDonald and a few others, and then these other guys like the Dennis Lomanak have to step more into the game. And they get the opportunity more because those other guys are out. So while we've missed those lead players, I'm sure guys like Dennis Lomanak really appreciate the opportunity to show off their skills.
Absolutely, and I think it for the coaching staff, it probably means a lot to them too, because you might not get to see these guys in game shape if everybody was healthy, right? So. And now, there's 2 brand new defensemen on the 3rd pairing in Anderson and O'Toole, and they're getting their minutes, and I've been nothing but impressed with them.
You love O'Toole, don't you?
He had a huge hit earlier. I was super impressed with that.
Yeah, Billy Yurchuk and Lee Baisley both talked about him earlier, and I told the story of it. Hung out with some of the guys after the last game, had a beer and talked, and I'm like, "What are you guys seeing here? These guys have been around for 25-ish years around OHL hockey," and they're like, "Where did that O'Toole kid come from, right? What do you like about him?"
He seems to find himself in the middle of every play. He's getting in the way of pucks, and like I said, delivering big hits. I think he's done it almost every game. He's laid someone down. It's been awesome to see. You got to have that. We kind of miss it with Dillingham coming out. So, we don't really have a huge body checker anymore. Everyone likes to get physical, but someone who's going out there every shift looking to put someone to the boards or put them on the ice, that's important, I think, and it sets a message.
Lee Baisley talked about that, and actually we talked about, and I'll get your thoughts on Dalen Moses, who's come in as a kind of a unique player in this game because Lee mentioned, he's kind of trying to figure out his style of hockey. Because I brought up last podcast, I said, I feel like Dalen wants to go.
Yeah.
Like he's been itching, and he's like, then he's not, and nobody will bite. And, he got that penalty tonight, which was a fair penalty. But, like I say, Lee talked about Dalen's role in this. So how do you see him fitting in? Because he's really the only kind of tough guy really we've seen.
Oh, I think you're right about that too. I think if the coaches weren't in his ear, he'd probably be fighting every single game.
Right.
He's a chippy player and he loves to get himself involved. And no, I think you're 100% right about that. He's forming himself as a leader, and I think trying to find his game too, because he's got a lot of skill too. He can shoot the puck and he can pass too, but how you find yourself in between a tough guy and a playmaker, it's a lot to fit in, and I'm sure he's got a lot to think about for sure.
Yeah, well, he definitely, like at the beginning of the season, he really showed off his skills. as a player, making some goals. And then, now he's trying to figure out where he's going to, I guess, plant his skates on the ice. But then there's nothing wrong with being like a multitask player, because then maybe the other team doesn't see it coming.
No, definitely nothing wrong with that. Yeah, you can do both. You can be a power forward and you can be a goal scorer too. In this league, I think especially because especially with us right now, a lot of these guys are younger, and if you want to throw the hits, I'm sure you'll be able to land them. But if you work on your shot too, you'll be able to score a lot of goals.
Yeah,
I think you can balance that and have a nice combination.
And it's advantageous for a team like Sarnia Sting. Coming into next season, Connor, the Sting are really good at always working on keeping the momentum going through the off season. What do you see? What's your expectation coming forward into the next season with the Sarnia Sting?
Well, I'm really excited for the draft that's going to be coming up next month, and I'm sure management has a good plan set in place. I'm sure they've been thinking about it for quite a while, knowing where we are in the standings. So I'd like to see some new guys come in. There's some big kids that are in the top of the draft there, 6'4", and they're 15 years old.
Without
I'd like
skates.
to have that guy.
Without
exactly.
skates, right? 7 foot with the skates on.
And how many more inches is he going to put on between then and 18? So I'd like to see how the draft comes and maybe a free agent signing. But other than that, I think this is a good group to go in with next season without having to play around with the roster too much.
Yeah, we should be able to buy more than sell this time
Absolutely.
around. That's kind of how Lee Baisley put it, right? And I think we're really in exciting times, and I know we want to say that as fans, out of last season there was huge, great power play in there, pun intended, There was super to come down against a team like London. And to, hey, how you doing, guys? Go Sting, go! Right on. We got the young fans here.
Yes,
and, I think, that coming out of last year, the fan support, I keep saying it over and over, but it's so impressive. And to see that still be held on to by the fans and the Sting players, we say, we want to see it because of last year, but I really do think this is a key position, not only just for the Sting. I mean, there's a few other teams out there, like Mississauga, for example, that looking like to be a strong team, but this is really just a key position for next year.
Yeah, I think we're kind of set in stone, and it's like you said, with the fan support, it's we're guaranteed to be here, regardless of if we're at the bottom of the standings or at the top. And I think if we're at the top of the standings, it's going to be pretty hard to find tickets next year because it seems the hype has grown quite a bit for this team. And with teams like Mississauga, sure, they might be at the top of the standing, but they're moving next year because they had
down
no
the street a couple blocks.
Exactly, about 10 minutes away. But we'll see how that works. But because they didn't have the fan support in. That's just the luxury that they don't have, and something that we should really be grateful for, I think. And then I think the players probably really appreciate it too. Every time there's a goal, it's almost deafening.
It's loud
awesome
in
to
here
hear.
for sure. All right. Well, one of the other things too is the Sting have got a lot of community support, and we've talked about that, and that's huge for sure. Tonight shows that. But now we're coming into the next 20 minutes of hockey here. We're about 7.5 minutes away. We've seen this back and forth, Connor. We get there, and then fans like yourself, all right, and then it's like a roller coaster of a ride. What's the Sarnia Sting got to do in this final period of hockey to seal the deal tonight against Flint?
I think if they're going to be successful the rest of this game, I'd love them to be. They have to keep shooting from the point. If the goalie stays the same, I think his name is Jacob Brown.
Yep.
He seems to be struggling with his vision from the point. So I think keep shooting long shots. There seems to get a tip or something in the way, and he doesn't see them very well. And I think that's key. They seem to be finding the back of the net, so throw a couple more like that. And just keep them to the outside. The shots aren't too bad. It's pretty similar. And just keep doing that. And I think that's going to lead to success.
All right. Sounds good. You heard it from Connor Burke. And I want to thank Lee Baisley, Billy Urchuk joining me earlier. Of course, we'll have post-game press conference tonight, regardless of the outcome. But right now, 5-4 in favor of your Sarnia Sting. And I'm sure this final 20 minutes of hockey is going to be a little more aggressive, I think. I think Flint's going to try to poke the bear a little bit, right? Because they want that positioning for the playoff spot. But the Sting just want to come out shining at the end of the season.
I think it'd be a good, just a good, have that while,
Right.
you took our playoff spot, so we'll take one last win from you at the end of the season.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Okay,
We'll
take
see.
that.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again for watching, everybody. Don't forget post-game coming up after tonight's game. And as always, live from the concourse with the Sarnia Sting, I'm David Burrows, my good friend Connor Burke. 1, 2, 3, go Sting, go.